Hi everyone and welcome to today's AMA session by Shine.com. I'm Shubhangi and I'll be your host for this exciting event. We're thrilled to have Sheetal Sandhu with us, a seasoned HR leader with extensive experience as a group CHRO, board member, startup mentor, and ETHR Leader Award winner. Sheetal has been instrumental in shaping talent strategies and building high performance teams across industries. Her deep understanding of workplace dynamics and commitment to mentoring fresh talent make her the perfect expert for today's session. Thank you for joining us today, Sheetal. How are you feeling about the session?
Thanks, Shubhangi. Thanks for having me here. Pretty excited, actually, especially regarding the topic. I think it's the most fascinating journey when you start your career. So, very happy to be on this session today.
Great, that's wonderful to hear. Let's dive right in. I have set up 20 questions that will cover our various aspect of today's topic, which is let's get placed, building essential skills for workplace readiness. So my first question to you is the transition from a student to a professional can be daunting for many. What are the most common conceptions freshers have about workplace expectations and how can they overcome them?
Yeah, no, thanks. That's a very interesting question. And, when I was picking this topic, this entire journey from campus to corporate can be overwhelming for some of us because I think clearly we have our own anxieties, nervousness, first job syndrome, when we are starting this journey. Clearly, some of aspects people need to understand when they are moving from this transition to a college life to a corporate life. This is not that you have done all the hard work and the party begins here. The I think right when you move right into the first job, the credibility you will establish on your skills actually that will be the launch pad of your career, and actually they will take you higher and higher up in the space and in the industry, how well you do this first job of yours. Having said that, I think certain myths that it's a difficult world out there, there are difficult people out there are difficult skills which are there. I think nothing is unachievable or impossible, and each one of you need to have a lot of confidence and a lot of what should I say, grit within yourself that you can achieve laurels once you start your first job. So everyone is there out there are good people, I will say. They want to help you out. They really want to make you a success. But how much success you can achieve will actually depend upon your own determination, grit, confidence, skill, which you have developed, in your academics as well. While academics can be a lot theoretical, a part of it is going to be practical. Everything here is going to be practical. It has to be like on the job, on the go. So be prepared and be more resilient, when you're trying to demyth this entire campus to corporate journey. I will say first and foremost, also try to establish some level of mentors even before you begin your career, because it will always help you. And those mentors, by the way, can be anybody, your sibling, your cousins, your somebody who is more you are acquainted. You can actually talk about your initial start, and then, of course, someone from workplace will definitely help you go through this journey, whether your immediate boss, your buddy, your orientation manager, somebody who will help you drive through and sail through this first sight at work. So don't get overwhelmed by it. It cannot always be love at first sight, but yes, you will feel the nature and the nurturing you will get developed by your mentors and people around, the colleagues at your workplace.
I loved your advice about seeking mentorship and focusing on learning rather than perfection. It's a great way to ease into the professional world. I'm sure this will resonate with a lot of listeners who might be preparing for their first job.
Yeah.
Great. So moving on, my next question to you is how should freshers address gaps in their resumes if they have taken time to explore options after graduation?
Yeah. And it is no-brainer there. I think employers are very well aware that people take career breaks, and there can be opportunities which an individual wants to explore before they start a full-time job, or there is going to be, what should I say, an employment which they seek. I will say upfront, be honest in your resumes, in your conversations with your employer, because and calling out loud that why did you take that career break. Maybe you can mention that, say, June 24 till Jan 25, you were on a career break. And you must mention that how did you actually utilize those 6 months, potential skills you would have developed, even if it is probably, say, for another academics, you wanted to pursue your MBA, you wanted to pursue some other skill, it could be entrepreneurship, even if you were helping a family business, right? So what did you exactly do in those 6 months? If you can capture in a crisper format and a sharper format, it'll help you help the employer understand that you are serious about whatever you do in your life, in your career. And even if, by the way, it is a sabbatical, I will say, just mention that in that sabbatical, what did you develop, even if it was on the personal side of what you were trying to do. Giving those relevant gaps identified upfront to the employer, it will create a lot of work ethics and honesty and integrity, and people will appreciate, the employers will appreciate that an individual is well aware of the career graph or the journey the individual has taken, and they are just not, bluffing it around, and there is less, what should I say, clarity of mind, or things within the individual. If you write planned career break, do mention the objective, timelines, skills you have developed. Okay, do I need to speak in Hindi also, Shubhangi? Is
No,
that
no,
okay?
English is fine.
All right. I will try, Rahul, but I can, for now, I will go in the flow, and then maybe I can pick few things in Hindi for you. So it'll be good if you are, yeah, honest and upfront while mentioning this. Yes.
So, honesty is very important when you are highlighting the gap, explaining how the time was spent productively is really important for a job seeker when giving an interview, because it builds a confidence between the job seeker and the interviewer, right?
Yeah.
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 So, my next question to you is, many fresh graduates worry about not having enough experience. How can they position internships, projects, or academic achievements to stand out?
Yeah, and it is, again, everyone understand, if you are a fresher, you will not have a lot of experience or not so much of relevant experience. Let me tell you, when someone is hiring for a fresher skill, they are looking for attitude. They are looking how much tech savvy can you be. They are looking at your learning agility, that, or let me call it out, adjusting or adaptability, right? They are looking at someone who can come in and actually be a team worker or collaborate a lot more and understand issues on the ground, like problem solving skills, I will say, and someone who is less of a fuss. When I say less of a fuss, is of course not being a white elephant. Someone really wants to grow serious about their career, and want to make a big career out of, or a big success out of their careers. So when you're trying to establish your experience, even if it is a small internship you have done, right, with the family business, again, with something you have helped your parents to do, with something you have helped your sister or a brother to come out with the project, for example, do mention the skills you have developed, and these could be both hard skills and the soft skills. Do differentiate between these two, so that when someone is trying to get your USP identified, right, vis-a-vis a fresher 1, fresher 2, fresher 3, someone can clearly call out that, okay, Sheetal has a lot more learning agility vis-a-vis someone who can be a tech savvy. So a job which requires more learning agility vis-a-vis tech skills you'll be a identified candidate than otherwise. You should also try to be more sharper in the objective, for the job you are seeking or the role you are seeking. Understand the job description well and try to, what should I say, paraphrase your objective. Don't give away wrong objectives, but paraphrase the objective in a manner which will help you achieve that role much more faster. So my favorite question is in a fresher interview, how do you think you are fit for this role? And what do you think of JD, which we have given you? You will be able to tick how many boxes out of that. So if you have done that matchmaking yourself between the JD and your own skills, a large part of the problem of not having relevant experience, uh, done internships, done projects, summer projects. My only request to freshers who are still in academics is that do as much as live projects and live, what should I say, on the job trainings for yourself. Practical and theory, of course, is gonna make you go the next level that you have to clear. But when you come, someone is gonna look at your resume and is gonna definitely ask you if your live projects and internships were valid, or were they, if someone is hiring an HR trainee, for example, they look for people who would have done recruitment strategies, marketing strategies, anything which is more, constructive on the job, someone who has actually delivered to industry. Even if you made a small presentation to a group of HR folks, that's also okay. So you become much more relevant and, what should I say, keep yourself on the toes for having that set of skills built while you are pursuing your academics itself. Yeah, back to you, Shubhangi.
So basically, understanding the job description and then highlighting it in our resume objective is important, and our learning agility, attitude, being tech savvy, being a team player, and our problem solving skills are majorly important to highlight when we want to stand out on our resume.
Yes.
Okay, so my next question is for someone applying for the first job, what are the key sections to focus on crafting a resume?
Yeah, okay, there are two type of resume formats, right? Typically, one will be your chronological order. When did you do your graduation, post-graduation, any internships, projects, right? So you mentioned that, and the objectives and the skills you have achieved. So make sure whenever you are trying to put anything on your resume in that chronological order, you are trying to actually identify a competency you have developed, even if it is a 3 months project or a 15 days project, right? In academics, if you have done your MBA HR, what has been your specialization, right? While pursuing it, why were you excited about a specific function within it, right? So you try to give your first your section with your education, with your objective, your education, your projects, your awards and recognition. I always try to put it ahead of it, immediately after your objectives, because that's where you showcase your key achievements. And then I go to education, and then I go to other live projects and other sections. The other type of format is actually, it could be a functional format, which will be in specific understanding of emphasizing the skills and the competency. If you are trying to go for, say, mechanical kind of a work, then you will highlight that what type of mechanical projects you have done. So you bring your life projects ahead of that, your education and your rewards and recognition immediately after your objective. So you focus either on the functional skills, if you have a specific function to cater to, or if you want to have more generic profile, then you put it in a good chronological order, highlighting your key achievements and your skills basically and competencies for every period of whatever you have done. Yeah.
So, summarizing, there are two methods of crafting a resume. First is in chronological order, and second
Correct.
is functional format. So
Correct.
in chronological order, we highlight the education in our projects first, and functional format, we highlight our functional skills.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, moving on, next question is, what advice would you give to freshers who feel nervous about networking and reaching out to professionals on LinkedIn?
Okay, yeah. So look, there are no do's and don'ts of it. It is firstly absolutely your choice if you're comfortable networking on LinkedIn or not, or in person otherwise. But just to begin, start again, I will say go through, if you are shy on networking and you think you're not the best person to start reaching out people directly, and it could be overwhelming for some of us, honestly, to directly reach out to senior folks. Go through a reference, right? Go through a known person. It could be your alum, it could be your somebody already in the industry, so someone who can introduce you to that person, so that you have someone backing you up as a reference, that I know Sheetal, and Sheetal is here, she's seeking your guidance or your mentoring, and just help her out, and then someone can then be directly in touch with you. I will say prepare and research on the type of people or LinkedIn profiles you want to reach out to. Don't be random, and don't make your these things, what should I say, generic, right? Personalize your emails as far as possible. Understand what person is good at, why, how, and the rationale of why you are reaching to that person, right? What is the uptick you have got in the profile that you want to be networking with that individual? So research on a profile before actually you shoot out that networking email. Be polite in your emails. Nobody is, and don't get bogged down by not getting accepted, not getting an answer or a reply, because networking again is a choice, right? You may want to network with me, but do I want to network with you? I think that probably we need to balance that out, and don't get dejected overall that, oh my God, I sent 100 invites and I have still not received any responses on that. I will say, before you reach out on LinkedIn, build your own profile. Your own profile should be very, very, what should I say, lucrative and attractive enough before someone actually can start to network with you. Because I have always seen networking as a two-way street. You want to network, you need to understand why should the other person be networking with you. It cannot be one-way street, and hence you need to be extra careful as a fresher. Only after building your comprehensive profile, you should start reaching out to people. Some other ways of doing it could be, as I said, go through a referral, alum, join some groups, right, which are of mutual interest between you and the individual. You can actually start commenting or showing your interest on someone's blogs, or which are of mutual interest, and you found something really suitable. You can share with that individual, or you can comment on what they are commenting upon, or but don't chase people down is my only request, because someone on LinkedIn as a social media also, we do not want to haunt people and chase them down, and so it could be again very, very overwhelming for people who are on LinkedIn. If they get like 50 requests a day, then probably it makes it a lot more difficult to accommodate it. So research well, reach out with value, and don't haunt people is what I will say when you want to effectively network.
So basically, first we have to build our own profile, which should be strong enough to connect with someone who is already positioned in a company whom we are trying to reach. And we should connect through a source, our senior or any relative who is also already connected with that person. So reaching out through connection is a better way to reach out someone. And your suggestion to personalize messages and engage with relevant content on LinkedIn makes the whole process feel less intimidating. I'm sure this advice will give freshers the confidence to take the first step in building their professional network. Okay, so my next question to you is, what are the top skills that freshers need to succeed in their first workplace?
Yeah, okay. That's very interesting. And this is again, there is no rule book to it, but I think what would have come out is generally people love to work with people who have great attitude, right? And attitude can be defined in behaviors, values, a strong will to succeed, I'll say hunger, someone who has a great learning agility. But I think still we should not shy away, as I started, right, from problem solving skills, effective communication, making time management as a utmost thing. How many breaks do you want to take is what people may be noticing, right? And it is okay to say to a no to a break, then actually definitely go for it because some of your seniors might be going. Critical thinking, I will say, could be another key skill when I see freshers, uh, because you need, why does an organization get freshers? Because they want to obviously challenge their perspective or the things they have been doing it in a certain manner to challenge the status quo, right? Now, doing that in a most polite and a humble manner is the best way to do that, but building a critical skill of you know questioning, like one of my previous organization used to have this value of obligation to dissent, which would mean that you should definitely question what is not right, and if things are not right, and you need to do it in the most humble way. Again and again, I'm saying the how part of it is very important. You don't want to upset people because they have been doing a similar thing over a period of time. So you want to first understand that why they are doing it and how you can improve some process and improvise, on a lot of efficiencies and gains. Adaptability I have spoken about because again, your learning agility or ability to pick up larger role, I won't say role enrichment or role enlargement. It is actually creating value for your own role, which could be a misnomer because someone can always say, I'm a business analyst, I have these 5 tasks to do, I will only do this and go back home, right? No, I think you will create your own value by doing those 5 tasks in much more meaningful and a relevant manner. And if you do it a lot more creatively, I think someone will really make will notice you and you will make good for yourself. Another thing I want to speak about is the digital mindset. I think we need to talk a little bit more about it and create more awareness when either you are entering a workforce or you're trying to have a shift from academics to your corporate journeys, because uh, having that tech savvy mindset, digital mindset, I'm not talking have a digital skill. I'm not asking you to get trained on a coding or a Python or a R or all that, but there is no harm in having a understanding about a Power BI, right? How a same thing can be done much more effectively through a lean innovation, if not through a software-based thing. I know I have, by the way, a 10-year-old daughter who uses a chat GPT for her research, which may not be the great thing because not many organizations will actually allow it. So what I mean by digital mindset is just be aware of doing the same thing in a different manner, but it needs to be, of course, in the parlance and the context of the cybersecurity laws of the organization. You don't want to be on the wrong side of the governance at any given point in time. Work ethics, which will include time management, I have spoken, which will include values, integrity, honesty. I think those are going to be just like, they are omnipresent. I mean, I don't want to talk about it, but build a strong work ethics for yourself. Actually, that will make you a very, very successful professional vis-a-vis others. Once you have developed work ethics in initial career phase, I think it will help you achieve laurels for times to come. Yeah.
So that's a fantastic breakdown of soft skills, critical thinking, adaptability, teamwork are really the pillars of workplace success. Having said that, having a digital mindset, understanding the digital trends is really important. And lastly, the work ethic, developing work ethics are really important in our first job.
Yep. Yep.
So moving on, my next question to you is, how can a new job seeker prepare for behavioral interview questions without sounding rehearsed?
Yeah. Yeah, this is interesting. So first, we all need to understand what is a behavior interviewing skill. It is typically a example-based questioning. Will be an open-ended question, and in that you will need to answer it depending upon your experiences from your life. And in that, probably it is difficult that you will go scripted there, because questions can be very the variety of questions can be there.
Right.
So with that, I think what you can do is that you can have some examples identified for yourself, right? If you want to talk about your key achievements, why are you talking about those key achievements? And have a STAR model with you, which is like a situation, task, action, and the result, basically, STAR. And for every example you want to draw out, you will probably have to keep that note, somewhere for yourself, so that you don't have to read out those notes or anything, but in your memory, recall that what was that STAR model, what was the situation, what was the task given to you, how did you action it out, and what was the outcome or the result or the impact it created, right, when you actually did manage that situation. So you will probably have to keep such 5, 6, or maybe 10 examples handy with you. And depending upon that question, you will have to pick up which example you will like to answer in the behavior interviewing skill. I'm not going to tell you to put down like 50 examples out of your life stories and, make it like a broad-based answer. Make it very crisper, make it very sharper from the behaviors which you could drive out of that situation because you were in that situation. It could be a personal situation, it could be a personal situation, it could be a professional situation. It could be anything to do with your academics, your events, your professors, your co-students, right? So depending upon how did you come out of it and what do you think you could have done differently, I think that probably you have to keep yourself ready for every behavioral answer, questioning questions you are giving. Yeah.
That's such a practical advice. Using the STAR method to structure answers while keeping them authentic and relatable is a game
Yeah.
changer. So, summarizing a STAR method is S for situation, T for task, A for action, and R for result.
Yep.
So, moving on, my next question to you is, many candidates feel unsure about negotiating their first salary. How should they approach this conversation with confidence?
Yeah, okay. This is again no-brainer, but very clearly know your market is what I will say. If you're a fresher, you should know that where are your alum placed within that company, if there are placed any, right? And then what did the campuses right now are drawing? There has to be a value and a cost contribution, a value and a cost balance, right? Value from your side, what value you can bring to the table, and the cost what a company can offer. That has to marry at some point while negotiating. I mean, if you think there is an appetite for the organization to do many, multiples of 2s or 3 for the offer you are looking at, and the cost to the company, or the company doesn't have that appetite, then it will be very difficult for that company to actually give you that offer. So there's no point negotiating, right? So research well, create your value, know your value. Your market benchmarking should be as accurate as it could be, and you cannot deviate from there. I mean, also don't hard negotiate your first salary, I will say. It is sometimes companies have a standard pay scale and a benchmark for the role and the JD they offer. If you think that JD is placed well in the market and as per your expectations, just go ahead with it. But if you have a number in mind, be polite and be honest about that number and let the employer answer if they can actually match up to that number or not. I'm not saying shy away from negotiations, but to my mind, focus a lot more on building your career and your skill and your job rather than being very, very picky about the salary you would like to get in your first job. Yeah.
That's such an empowering advice. You have emphasized on doing research and knowing your worth before entering the negotiation.
Yeah.
I guess it will help freshers approach salary negotiation with confidence and professionalism. Moving on, my next question is what's the best way for freshers to handle rejection and stay motivated during their job search?
Yeah. Okay. By the way, in the first job search, there are no rejections, right? There are only opportunities. So you are actually, by missing on one, you are actually going to the next opportunity, and God knows why, that could be the best opportunity, whichever the next one comes your way. So you are actually gaining experience by sitting through that interview, by preparing yourself for the next best offer you want to have in hand. So don't think rejection is actually a misnomer. I always tell freshers, it is always difficult to say that I got rejected in my campus interview. No, you never get rejected in your campus interview. You learn from your campus interview, and then actually you jump on to the other one so that you can, grab the next best opportunity. So each interview will actually prepare you for the best opportunity which is lined up for you. It may take time, have patience. I think what freshers lack is not having patience at a stage when everyone is getting placed. There's so much of peer pressure, and suddenly, oh my God, I'm not placed, I'm not placed. So keep that patience, give yourself enough time to prepare, and it is okay to be rejected or to be not selected, I will say, for the role. Maybe you were not, there is something more which you don't know, that why did that offer didn't come through. So seek feedback from your employers, I will say, that why did it not happen. There is no harm in writing a polite email asking the recruiter that, why did it not why did it doesn't get translated into a success. uh, Build resilience and patience, I've said, because I think having a lot of resilient mindset is going to let you land to the best job possible. Otherwise, what will happen is that you will keep going into that negative loop over and over again. Oh my God, I'm getting rejected, I'm getting rejected. Just delete this word from your dictionary, wherever, from your vocabulary, rejection, when you are actually seeking your first job. Only call this as an opportunity for something great to come your way, and keep that confidence on yourself that you will land up into your choice of job. So staying positive, and I know it's a bit philosophical, but staying positive and accepting your emotions, I think only working and seeing ahead will help you land to the best of the job possible.
Such an important point. Rejection can be tough, but I love how you highlighted the importance of viewing it as a learning experience, viewing it as an opportunity rather than a rejection, staying positive, reflecting on feedback, building resilience, and keeping focus on long term goals are really great strategies. Your advice really helps freshers to shift their mindset from disappointment to growth. Yeah, great. So, my next question to you is, many job seekers rely on company reviews to evaluate potential employers, but reviews can be sometimes be biased or incomplete. How can someone objectively assess a company's work culture and values beyond online reviews?
Yeah, I think I will not, take away the benefits of social media reviews. But if I were to visit a restaurant, for example, I will probably do a word of mouth, a reference check myself, especially with the people who I trust have visited that restaurant. Okay. I will actually go, and similarly, just drawing an analogy here, I will actually talk to the alum if there are any references I have who are actually working in that company. What are the issues, or if there are of course reviews which are not congenial to look at. I will rather ask what is good in the industry rather than what is in the company rather than what is bad in the company, because I want to focus on the strengths. And if that marries to my expectation, then probably I will. So the idea I'm trying to tell you is validate those reviews which are there on online. If any of it is particularly is worrying you, or is you're anxious about a specific review, do a validation check. You can do it through multiple ways. You can talk to people who are there. You can talk to alum. You can talk to referrals. I would rather ask a upfront question to a recruiter and a HR if I have a concern. And I would rather be very, very open. And I like people who want to talk about culture of the company as freshers, that what excites them, in when they want to join a company, why would they like to join a company? And if a fresher also asks me that what can he or she look forward to in a culture of a company, I think that talks a lot about, you're just not looking at a job in hand. You are actually trying to come in and settle in for a long time, because you're actually talking about the values, culture, which drives the organization and is actually the foundation of the job for the organization and for the individual as well. So try to marry your value systems to the company value system, so that there is a long-term commitment and you are able to sail through a successful career. So that's how I will actually try to validate some of the social media reviews. Yeah.
I guess validating those reviews is really important before jumping to conclusion.
Yeah.
Seeking advice from alums or inside voices is really important rather than going with the reviews that are given on online platforms. Great. So thank you for those detailed answers, Sheetal. I'm sure our audience is already taking away so many actionable insights. So now let's open the floor to the questions from our audience. Audience, I request you to drop your questions in the Q&A section available on your screen, and I'll select those questions for Sheetal to address. Let me check the Q&A.
Yeah.
Okay. Our first question is from Soumya. She has asked, "What's the first step we have to take for foundation of success?" And also, Sheetal, I would request you to answer in Hindi English mix because our audience is.
Okay, I'll give it a best shot. Okay, so okay, the question is, what is the first step for the foundation of a success? I think have your work ethics right in place. As I said, some of the things around time management, your values, your creativity, your adaptability. Some have your focus on doing a thing rather than just completing it. And the how part of it is going to be very important in the journey. So you will have to, take care of the time management, as I said, your work ethics, how the honesty is going to be a lot more stronger, right? So मैं क्या बोलना चाह रही हूँ, मैं ये कह रही हूँ कि आपकी honesty और आपकी सच्चाई will take this to the next level. And so I'm sorry, I won't be that pro, but I will try my best. I haven't prepared this in Hindi. I will next time definitely do a session in Hindi.
Sure.
So also collaboration and communication, right? Teamwork is going to be very, very essential as a foundation step. Prepare yourself for uncertainty, because preparing yourself for uncertainty and unpredictability is actually going to be the norm when you guys will join corporates. It is going to be सब कुछ एकदम से पता नहीं होगा, राइट? धीरे धीरे करके सबको पता लगेगा और सब धीरे धीरे करके बता पाएंगे. आपके मैनेजर्स भी आपको काम देंगे, आपको टाइम मैनेजमेंट करना होगा, राइट? कोई काम आप 2 घंटे में कर सकते हैं, आप कोई काम 1 घंटे में कर सकते हैं, तो आपको पूरा उसमें टाइम टेबल बना के रखना है. और आपको कितने ब्रेक्स लेने हैं, कितने ब्रेक्स नहीं लेने हैं. It says, what does it say? Do I need to do this? Okay. So yeah, those are some things on the foundation for this one. Yeah, foundation of success.
Great. So honesty, time management, being a team player, basically are the key to are the foundation of success.
Yeah.
Great. Moving on. Next question is from anonymous attendee. What can you advise a person with little or no experience but still wants to apply for a job requiring 3 to 5 years experience?
Sorry, so you mean the person is still fresher
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
graduation or
They
something?
have
The
no
person,
experience. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So look, these days, companies are a lot open to freelancing and people. If you have developed a skill after your graduation, right? So, for example, you were doing your own business in these 3 years, 5 years, even if you were a homemaker, right? So companies want to get back such skill set in a gig economy, right? There'll be freelancing, part-time working, work from home. So different type of employment options are available. Depending upon where you want to start and what you can start, it could be as simple as, say, a resume writing. It could be as simple as, say, just what should I say? Data entry jobs, for a lack of a better skill. That won't need anything. You can upskill yourself if you want to get into that 3 year, 5 year experience window. Maybe upskill yourself on a PowerPoint and upskill yourself on an Excel. And MIS and reporting could be a very good way of entering into a job. Even if you're very good in organizing and calendarizing and something which comes as a handy skill you have developed while you were doing your own business, event management, for example. So I think if you have certain fungible skills that highlight, as I said, as part of your resumes, and for the type of role you are looking at, go through referencing, go through alum, try to meet as many people as possible that you're looking out for a job. It will help you land somewhere, in my view.
So basically, skilling yourself is really important when you have a gap of 3 to 4 years in graduation and applying your job if you're applying for a 3 to 5 years of experience job.
Yes.
Great. Next question is from Tambi. She is asking, I'm a postgraduate, career gap also there. I am a fresher, I have no experience in pharma company. So how can I go ahead with my career?
So no experience, you said? Okay.
Yes.
So first you have to identify which type of pharma companies you want to go for, okay?
Okay.
Identify certain, sorry, go
Sorry
ahead.
to interrupt. She has extended her question. She's saying presently I'm working as a pharmacist. I have experience and I'm searching for a better job.
Yeah, okay. So as a pharmacist, let me say you would have developed a functional skill of, knowing medicines, what type of medicines, and, so you identify a skill and a competency you have identified yourself in. And then target the companies which want these type of skills or competencies in their JDs. You have to do a bit of a search. Reach out to people either through LinkedIn or through your own network, right? And then land up in the companies which have this type of requirement first. So you can't again be doing a bombarding, right? You have to first identify a target list of competencies you have developed. You have to identify a target list of companies which need these type of competencies, and then via your network, LinkedIn, a stronger profile, as I earlier said in my session, a resume which is much more skill based and competency based. Even as a pharmacist, what have you learned in your career? You try to identify and nurture that thing, leverage on your strengths, and then ask for the jobs which you might want to do. Or if you want to change your career altogether, what is that fungible skills which you have, which can be used in a finance, can be used in a admin department. So you don't only target the companies, but also within companies, what type of departments can you actually help the organization with? If you can identify that also, it'll help you get through this a lot faster in your job search.
Great advice. I have a question. Most of the freshers are confused by whether to apply for a work from home job first or a on-site job when applying for the first job, which is
Okay, so
important.
look, I will be a bit biased here. I will say all freshers must go to work. Like, for example, when my daughter started her grade one, she was online. But now she is in grade five and she goes to school. I can see a lot of difference in her personality development, in her overall grasp of the things. I think freshers by choice should not do work from home. That's my personal advice to the entire workforce, which essentially would mean you need to see a corporate setup, how it is operating, right?
Right.
And you need to take best out of that corporate setup in terms of mentorship, sponsorships, your colleagues, your relationship building, your interpersonal skills, your collaboration. Because where else will you build this in a work from home setup? Please tell me. You can be as good as in Excel, but you need to develop your career as a full blown career, right? So you will need to develop those soft skills a lot more than your functional skills. That's my humble request to all of you. Yeah.
Right, right. Um, do you think having a fluency in English is important while applying for a job? Do companies consider people first who are fluent in languages like English or other languages?
Yeah, look, it's again based on a job description. If some of it can accommodate Hindi or a regional languages as part of the job description, then why not, right? You need to have an expression of language which is required. If it is a translated job, it's a desk job, it doesn't need a lot of day-to-day communication in English, then probably even I'll again give a data entry operator job, right? It may not need that type of hang-on English, and it just needs some basic understanding of how, some functional skills, Excel skills to be done. And then, yeah, I mean, you develop. But look, there is no harm in having primary language, which is your primary language of the organization or employer. There's no harm in developing that.
Uh, Great. We have a question from Radhika. She is asking, how can we check for authenticity of opportunities available online? I mean, there are many jobs which are fraud and they ask for money, especially for freshers because they don't have so much experience in the job market, and
Huh.
if they have to pay for the job opportunity first and then get a job. I mean, there are scams that happen like that.
Yeah. Okay, this is quite a market, and I think it is important that we understand all good companies and employers, organizations will not have people who are coming through, through a money-based model or a monetary output. So you need to be very, very mindful of putting some money on the table to get a job through a mediator or anything. I think those are scams. You need to reach out to the direct employer, talk to the direct recruiter first, or somebody from the company first. If you know a manager, if you know some family member, go through them. I would like to avoid all this at some stage until and unless this is done through a very, very branded, what should I say, agency. There could be certain platforms which may be doing this like a what should I say, like a platform fee or something like that, which should be okay. But putting some money on the table to get on a job, I think it starts with the not so great work ethics, which we must avoid.
Great. Thank you, Sheetal. This has been such a valuable session. Before
Thank
we
you.
close, I would like to ask you one final question. If,
Sure.
if there is one key takeaway or piece of advice you would give to freshers starting their career journey, what it would be?
Yeah, as I said, that in every adversity lies an opportunity. I think all of you need to operate with that mindset. Whether rejections, finding a job, taking time, family pressures, peer pressures, I think create an opportunity for yourself and create value. I think that's the only piece of advice I have for you. So don't get dejected and disheartened. There is a ray of hope at the end of the tunnel.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and practical advice with us today. Your insights have been incredibly helpful, and I'm sure our audience is leaving with a career understanding of how to prepare for workplace success. To our audience, thank you for being part of the session. We hope you found it valuable and inspiring. Please take a moment to fill our feedback forms. We have shared them in the chat. It will take only 2 minutes. Stay tuned for more such expert sessions with industry leaders like Sheetal. Have a wonderful day ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Shubhangi. Thank you, everyone.